scoot back a little bit.
Scoot back a little
Yeah.
bit.
There we go. Okay. Hopefully this fan isn't too bad.
Yeah, sorry about you.
Yeah. Well, we just finished the first after-school enrichment program at Gatewood Elementary. We're in West Seattle, and we are the Lemonade Standers. I'm Julie.
And I'm Emily.
Yeah, and we're sisters and founders of Lemonade Standers, a business that teaches kids about how business and money work. And we're starting at the beginning. We had this idea last September when we were in Orlando for Funnel Hacking Live, an event that brought together thousands of entrepreneurs, and this idea was born, and we officially formed our business on January 1st of 2024.
So since then, we've had 8 classes now with one of the enrichment programs, which is an after-school program here at Gatewood, teaching kids through play and lots of fun games, giving them ideas and through play, teaching them concepts like there's costs and how you earn money and how you set goals and how do you talk to customers and how to learn to be curious. All skills that will be very useful in life regardless of whatever field they choose to go into, but foundational regardless.
Yeah, I love the idea of the foundational skills. Today at the end of it, we had them set a goal for what's something they could do this summer. We had one little girl who said that her goal is to be able to do a back handspring. So I was like, all right, break that down for me. Like what can you do in gymnastics today, and what are the building blocks? And then there was somebody else that wants to have millions of bags of Doritos. That seems like a lot of red food dye to me as a parent.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, well, let's break this down. If you wanted 5 bags of Doritos by the end of the week, what would you do? And then another one.
Oh, and actually, this one is probably my favorite. One of the kiddos mentioned that they needed to have money to go buy boba tea, so that's what they wanted to earn their money for. And they said it's about $5 each, and they wanted to be able to do it 5 times. So they calculate out, okay, 5 times 5, 25. And then they realized that 3 of them wanted to go together, so then they realized, okay, we need $75. So we said, well, how can you earn $75 right now? And then they actually decided in that moment that they all knew how to make cotton candy. And so this afternoon,
how great! They know how to make cotton candy.
Yes,
Yeah.
Great skill. So this afternoon they were heading home, and they had all their pricing sorted out for what they're going to charge people. They knew exactly what their costs were, and hopefully they make very good sales this afternoon.
Yeah, I think they decided they're going to sell 1 bag of cotton candy for $5. I'm not sure how big of a bag of cotton candy it is, so I think they still have a few details to work out. But I think the beauty of that is that they can try and they can see if it works, and maybe they'll be successful, and maybe they'll earn all the money right away, or they'll have to figure it out. And that is the beauty of working in a business structure and learning, okay, like if their parent, maybe their parents have sponsored some of the sugar. I'm sure that's probably the case.
Definitely.
But in this, we were teaching them, okay, we got to talk about cost of goods sold. Well, and we don't really use those words. We say, well, how much do the things that go into that product, what does that cost you? How much, what does a bag of sugar cost? And then you have to remember to subtract that out. That's been one of the things that we've been working on, is figuring out how do we simplify and elevate these business ideas so they can get those really high level business ideas from the very beginning and have a foundation, so as they get bigger and their ideas and their dreams get bigger, that they have some of those skills already to build on, and they know they can try something and they can go for it and they can set a goal and they can make it happen.
Nice. On to the next.
What do you think is our biggest lesson learned in our journey?
Let's see, biggest lesson learned. I think they probably enjoyed, so I think the more we gave them something to go create on their, the more that they were able to create something on their own seemed to be which was understandably the creative freedom. So setting boundaries for them, say, okay, you're gonna go create a game we came up with, which I didn't anticipate they'd be such a big success. So we called it Business in a Bag. So we had a bunch of bags that they couldn't see into, and they pulled a number and they had to go get that bag, and then they had to create a business, and in that business they had to say what the value was and come up with the reason why this product was different. So some of the bags had dental care and toothbrushes, and
not as big a hit.
Yeah, it was not as big of a hit. However, they were still creative. Pain-free tooth extraction was a really good, I thought that was a great sell.
I they actually they had some really good ideas of things you could bring to dental office.
Yes, they also there was another bag that had a lot of gardening stuff and spa days. And it turns out that having those areas and kind of letting them see what their opportunities were, they had a heyday and a great time playing with those. So I think that was my biggest learning, is just how much fun it is for them to just let them use their creative freedom.
Yeah, I think that was it was funny because on some of the days we had, you know, so we had more activities or other structure, and when we did, I think that they did learn a lot through the business in the bag, and it wasn't as structured maybe like as some of our other activities were, and it was a really big hit. And so I think we can like figure out how to, you know, build off of that energy, and maybe so give them some things that can like bring that activity to the next level. We did 2 days of that activity. One was where they got all the bag of goodies, all the stuff. Like some of it was like sand. It was like it was like all gardening related stuff, or it was like the toothbrushes, like Emmy mentioned, or it was the beach toys. There's all kinds of stuff, right? Like little, and like they all kind of had a theme, and they came up with really great ideas. And so they like would price things, and that was really fun. Actually, that activity where they all set the pricing with no boundaries, right? In terms of like what they could set the pricing for in this little activity. And some kids set their prices a lot higher. And at the end of it, we said, okay, now you have to pay for your supplies. And so there was one kid that made, I think the most they made was like $20 during, you know, and we played with real money. They got handed out the money during the activity. And so somebody made $20, that was me, or maybe it was like 25. Everybody else was like 10 to 15. And then we said, okay, well, your supplies were $5. And we made them take the $5 and give it back to us. And so that seemed to be, like, we'd played with other ways of explaining profit and profit margin and having that concept of what makes, you know, how does a business actually make money? But that seemed to be the day where, like, that actually clicked, which I thought was, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And it was also fun to see, too, the kids who would, like, package things together for a certain price versus the ones who insisted on selling it separately. And then at the end, also talking through, like, well, why do you think you made $20 versus this other person only made $15? Like, and they talked about like, well, this was a better deal or better value. So yeah, they got clever.
I would say like one of the other favorite activities we did was the persona game. So it's like, are you my customer? And so we created these cards, and they had pictures and the kind of description of a person. So we had we had, I don't know, 10 different people, and they usually get a persona, and it would say like who, you know, their name, where they lived, some of the things that they like to do, and then it would have a list of like their likes, where they shopped, and then some of their challenges. So like one person was wanted to become a professional athlete, and so they wore out their shoes or something. So we had all this like all these things that they would try and sell the personas that we brought from home. And it was like there's not like random stuff. And one of the people was an influencer. One of the personas was an influencer. Mm-hmm. An influencer was a really big Taylor Swift fan because she is the woman of the hour. So we all bow down to the business genius of Taylor Swift. But what was fascinating was one of the little girls in this activity uncovered from the persona in the conversation of asking questions that the persona was an influencer and that she loved Taylor Swift. And one of the things that I brought was like it was an old BlackBerry, right? This like ancient cell phone, which has really no monetary value. It probably belongs in a museum. And she, to get to sell the cell phone product, picked it up and she said, well, Taylor Swift's phone number is on this phone. And suddenly she turned this thing that had no value into something extremely valuable for the person that was sitting in front of her. So I thought we're like, okay, like some of the concepts, like they're catching on. So it was really fun to see. Yeah, and they had a good time doing it, which I think is the whole point.
Yes.
That they play and they learn, they're learning, and they don't really even realize
the thing is just play.
That's the whole idea, yeah. Yes. So anyway, this was just a little wrap up from our how far we've come, the Lemonade Standers. It's been, like I think signing up, being in the classroom, we had to get $1 million for liability insurance. That was something to figure out. Emily did that. That was
a lot of steps in between, but we got here.
A lot of steps, yeah. We had a lot of steps. We still have a lot of steps to go, but hey, we started the journey, which I think is one of the hardest things to do from the beginning. So remember that we believe in you, and if you have an idea, you should absolutely pursue it. Turn your ideas into action, break it down. Even if you can't see the whole staircase, as the book says, find the next step. And so anyway, we're so glad to have done this, and we're really excited to figure out what's next.
Bye all.